Hello and welcome, everyone. It is another episode of Loot, Lore, and Lights. Today we are talking about the Four Seasons. It is a limited series on Netflix. It centers around, I think it's 3 couples who it seems like are well off enough that they just do trips every quarter together, but don't talk in between. You know, it stars Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Coleman Domingo, Erica Henningsen, Will Forte, Marco Calvani, and Carrie Kinney Silver. The dynamic of the show is kind of about these long-lasting relationships and ultimately the struggles that they're going through at this particular point in their life. It is based off of older Four Seasons from, I want to say Alan Alda was the creator. I don't remember what year that one came out. And to be honest, I am too young and have not watched it. But doesn't mean I won't go back and watch it because I do like Alan Alda. So basically it's an 8 episode. There's 2 episodes in each season. If you have not finished the show, stop watching now. Stop listening now. Go finish it, and then you can come back and listen to this review of it. Right off the bat, you know, it to me, it tried to paint Steve Carell's character, and I believe his name was Nick, and Anne as this older couple who's just started growing apart. You know, and I guess I shouldn't say right at the beginning, but shortly into it, where Nick tells, you know, Danny and Jack that he's thinking about leaving Anne. Anne knows it, as it is with most long-term relationships. You can kind of see, I guess, when there's writing on the wall. Like, she knew. Kate even and says that, you know, yeah, Anne knows it's coming. And she tried to do one last hurrah and do a renewal of vows, and it didn't work out. Nick ends up leaving her and finds someone that is, I would say probably 30 years younger than him, maybe 40 at that point in the show, that is a big part of his life for the next 8 months. You see the dynamic shift too, where when Nick and Anne split up, it's almost to the point where the other couples are like, you know, we see, number one, how kind of miserable Anne is, but number two, how happy Nick is. And if he's happy because he made this choice and he's getting to, you know, in a way, it's jealousy is what it is. Like, they make fun of him, they give him a hard time, but they're really jealous over his happiness and how, you know, he's found this new bliss, which is Jenny, and it leads to some struggles between Danny and Claude and Kate and Jack. To me, it's kind of funny because the way that, at least early on with Kate and Jack, my wife and I were watching this together, and we actually laughed because Jack's character played out similar to the way my wife is, whereas I acted a little bit more like Kate. And we had a really good time watching it, like comparing that, until it got a little bit later where they're really not happy with each other. I thought it was funny, the play that the daughter of Nick did. Man, I cannot think of her name for the life of me. Lila did, where she basically treats this young girl as like the demon and a devil, and she even had Jenny help her, or went with Jenny's suggestion on a bookcase just to destroy it in a play in front of Jenny. There's a lot of like nuances back and forth, and as unlikable as you think Nick's new girlfriend Jenny is going to be, she isn't. You know, she really grows on you throughout the show. Even like starting 3rd episode, where she's got them in this weird, like, I don't remember what they call it, like a yurt, and she's not fully, I guess, experienced to the point where the other characters are, and so they really just hate it. But they're trying to have a good time because Nick, you know, has gone through the divorce. My wife and I were talking, like, it seemed really unfair that they kind of just left Anne out of everything, it seemed like, for the first little bit. I guess really until you get closer to the winter season. And like I said earlier, you know, it takes place like 2 episodes in each season. So I didn't yeah, I don't know. I really like that character, and I didn't think I was going to. So I really like the way that the writing was portrayed there, and how, ultimately at the end of the show, Anne kind of ends up accepting her. And there is a death in the show that if you haven't watched it, like I said, stop right now. So operating under the assumption that you have, Nick gets in a car wreck and dies, and now they're doing his funeral, and Jenny and Anne are button heads, and Anne does the funeral, but because she was with him for 25 years, so she knows him. But as she's going on and the funeral ends, she realized, like, I was with him for 25 years and didn't know him. And so she realizes that in those last 8 months where he was with Jenny, like, he was really happy. And it kind of shows, as someone who has been with someone for a long time, like, even though she's fresh in that divorce and she really, like, had some hate built up and anger and resentment, that it was nice to know in her point that he was happy there at the end. And then they dropped that bomb on you at the end that Jenny was pregnant. So even though Nick died, he's going to have another kid with Jenny. So I would assume, if the show were to continue, I don't think it will. It's a limited series. That being said, the director of the creator of the episodes, creator of the show, did say, hey, I would love to continue this on, but it's a limited series, so I wouldn't expect it. But if they did, you would think Anne and Jenny are going to have to stay close, because they're going to share that commonality of having a little piece of Nick there and another child. Maybe they won't, but who knows? The couple, Danny and Claude, both those guys, I thought, did an excellent job. It's funny seeing the dynamic of how different they are. And felt really bad for Claude, the way Danny kind of went back and forth treating him. But like I said, it was a really good show. I enjoyed it. I hope you'll check it out. If I had to rate it on like a scale of 1 to 10, I would say maybe a 7.5. It is maybe an 8. It's got some really funny moments, and especially if it's something that you or your significant other are wanting to watch, something kind of like laid back, casual, that you don't have to pay super heavy attention to. It is definitely worth throwing on in the background. Check it out. If if you haven't watched it and you're still listening, I should say, check it out. Obviously, if you've already watched it and you've heard the spoilers, or the spoilers, then you've already watched it and you're just curious about what my answer is. So I would say 7.5 to an 8. I enjoyed the entire series. Like I said, I don't want to say it was a needless death with Nick, because it did lead to that dynamic, the power dynamic of the ex and the current in the last episodes. But I would recommend anybody to watch it, especially if you just want a laid back comedy to watch. The cast was amazing. Check it out. Don't forget, if you haven't watched it and you are going to watch it based on this review, sorry for spoiling, but please subscribe and come back and give this another listen. And then why don't you write me a comment and tell me what you would rate it? So I know I've said this in a couple of the other episodes, but we are sponsored with Dubby now. Go to dubby.gg, dubby.gg. Energy Mix for all of your energy mix needs. Use promo code Loot, Lore, and Lights, and you'll get 10% off, and it's a way to support the channel. I hope all of you have a great rest of the week. I'm not sure when this episode will come out, so we might be done with The Last of Us. We might not. And so check out those Last of Us instant reactions. They come out right after the episode airs. I look forward to spending more time with you guys. Just remember, as always, the signal is weak, but the stories are strong. Take care.